Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about Asperger's advocacy and Asperger's symptoms in adults. Most adults will have a few cognitive delays or language skill delays, above average intelligence. Um, other adults with Asperger's may experience other symptoms, which can affect your life daily. No two people with Asperger's are alike, so I, one of my good friends could have Asperger's, and I have many friends with Asperger's. Most of us aren't alike. Um, we do engage in a lot of repetitive behaviors, which sometimes can drive people crazy. Other people, like neurotypicals. Um, some of the, it's hard to understand emotional issues. People with Asperger's have a hard time interpreting body language. Um, we tend to have a first person focus. Adults with Asperger's may struggle to see the world from another person's perspective. That's one thing I struggle with daily. You may have a hard time reacting to actions, words, and behaviors with empathy or concern. I would say a lot of people with Asperger's have empathy towards others. Sometimes we just don't show it, but it doesn't mean we don't have empathy. Um, we have an exaggerated emotional response. While it's not always intentional in adults, with Asperger's may struggle to cope with emotional feelings of frustration or changes in pattern, which may lead to emotional outbursts. Um, One thing I've noticed is resistance to change for me. Let's say at work, they my previous job they did a store modernization. I'm just drinking some coffee. The store modernization, and they increased wages for the job to $15 an hour and increased the expectations of the job. I'm not going to say any company's names because it was a good company to work for. But sometimes when you increase the company's wages to $15 an hour, it affects how efficient somebody with Asperger's can be. Um, that's one thing to be aware of when you're applying for jobs. The higher the minimum wage is, the more expectations they're going to have for the job. Um, Abnormal response to sensory stimuli. Uh, I would say I personally don't prefer being in the dark. I have sensitivity to sunlight. Um, sunlight. My glasses do tint when I go outside, and that helps me a lot. I don't know about with other people with Asperger's and autism spectrum, but I know that's true for me. Hold on, I'm gonna go get some water to drink, and I'm gonna be right back. Hello, everyone. I'm back. We were talking about sensory stimuli. Um, some individuals may have social difficulties. That may include you struggle with social situations. You may not be able to carry on small talk conversations. Speech difficulties. Um, People refer to me as sometimes being robotic. I wouldn't say it when it comes to chatting and stuff, but when I walk and stuff, I can be kind of like that. I can be kind of stiff. My legs and muscles are stiff and stuff. Um, You may also have difficulties moderating your voice for environments. That's something I'm difficult with. I tend to have a louder voice, which is, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just makes it hard to be in certain environments. Adults with Aspergers typically have strong verbal skills. We do, but it depends on who you are. And adults may also have problems with eye contact and stuff. So, if you're in an interview or you're hanging out with people, you can try to make more eye contact. I know sometimes maybe in the video you may not notice eye contact, as I'm kind of using a timeline to help me with the video. Like I said, lack of eye contact when talking to another person. You may not make the eye contact. It's really not a big deal. Some people it bothers. Me personally, I mean, if another person with Asperger's talks to me or who's on the autism spectrum, it really isn't bothering me if you don't make eye contact. I won't say anything. Clumsiness, motor coordination difficulties are specifically common in adults with Asperger's or autism spectrum disorder. These motor skill issues may show up as difficulty performing tasks sitting or walking correctly. Fine motor skills like tying shoes or opening an envelope may be affected. Some of my fine motor skills is sometimes it's hard to sweep stuff. I mean, it may look embarrassing, but it's really not. If you practice doing stuff, you'll get better at it. That's what I've learned throughout the years. Obsession. It's not uncommon for people with Asperger's to hyperfocus as a symptom of Asperger's or autism spectrum. It's usually towards a certain topic, like I like history. It may be history. It may be, you may like football. You may like soccer. You may like European football, wherever you're from. It may be an obsession with numbers. You may be really good at numbers. You may be really good at accounting. Maybe you're obsessed with accounting. Some of the positive symptoms. Individuals with Asperger's may experience symptoms that may be considered beneficial or helpful. For example, as noted above, adults with Asperger's remarkably have ability to focus. You may be able to concentrate on an issue or problem, especially if it interests you, which in some work environments it's a good thing. Like if you know where all the numbers match up on a certain product, it makes it easier. You may be able to memorize all the numbers in your department if you work in like a clothing department or a produce department, or maybe you're good at data entry. I mean, there are many jobs for people with Asperger's. It's just about finding that interest and what interests you. And if you have an interest, it makes the job go easier, and you'll be able to do it for longer periods of time. Likewise, attention to detail may be incredibly successful at problem solving. That is the good thing in certain jobs too. How is Asperger's diagnosed in adults? Currently, there is no specific test that can diagnose Asperger's syndrome in adults. There are no current diagnostic criteria for Asperger's syndrome in adults. Autism spectrum disorders are usually diagnosed in childhood. They can be diagnosed later in life. I think over the years they have gotten better with coming up with a Asperger's autism spectrum diagnosis. It's becoming less likely for you to reach adulthood without an autism diagnosis if you show signs or symptoms. Some people don't show signs, a lot of signs or symptoms, and then the key is early intervention when you're young. Fortunately, some of us ones that were born in the 1980s, like 1986, like me, we didn't have much early intervention, which we could have benefited from. But I mean, things turned out pretty decent for me. I can't complain. If you believe you have autism spectrum disorder, you should discuss your symptoms with your healthcare provider. You could discuss it with your friend or your family member first before you go, but you may be referred to a specialist. Psychiatrists and psychologists are able to diagnose that. A regular primary family doctor who's a medical doctor will most likely not be able to diagnose that. They might be able to, but that's not usually what they do. They will then assess your behaviors and symptoms to help determine if you have Asperger's or another form of autism spectrum. Criteria your health care provider may use: social observations. Your health care provider may ask you about your social life. They want to assess your social skills, skills and interactions with others. They can help gauge how significantly your symptoms affect this area of life. Physical issues. Your healthcare provider will want to rule out possible underlying conditions that could account for your symptoms. I don't really have any underlying conditions that would for my symptoms. Other conditions: people with Asperger's or autism spectrum disorder may experience high frequency of anxiety, depression, and hyperactivity. I happen to experience a lot of anxiety, not depression. Hyperactivity, yes. Usually there's ADHD that goes along with it. And to my friends that are depressed, I'm always here for you. You can contact me, you can message me. I'm not an expert on depression. But I'll gladly talk to you if you want to vent about it or talk about it. You can email me. I'll provide an email below, or you can contact me on Facebook or Messenger. Sometimes Asperger's people with Asperger's may be or misdiagnosed as one of these symptoms when a trained specialist is able to examine you. However, it's more likely you'll receive a proper diagnosis. Asperger's is no longer a diagnosis for autism or a diagnosis for Asperger's. They changed it in the Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So if you have Asperger's syndrome, it will probably go under a category called like autism spectrum disorder. I know some international places across, like some other countries, still use the term Asperger's syndrome. So that's something you may want to take into account. I know here in the United States, it's something that we don't call it Asperger's anymore, but it seems like a vast majority of doctors will call it Asperger's syndrome because they're so used to the diagnosis. How is Asperger's syndrome treated in adults? A therapist can help you cope with some of the issues of autism and Asperger's, such as social isolation and anxiety. They can help you with social skills and other uh, skills with others, feeling easier to socialize and less frustrating. Speech therapy. I also went to speech therapy when I was young. A speech pathologist can work with your voice and control moderation. Vocational vocational therapy. Most adults with autism can do and maintain full-time and successful jobs. I happen to work part-time because of my sensory overload and anxiety and stress. I probably maybe could work full-time, maybe. I don't know. Um, However, some people may face career-related difficulties, like some employers may have higher expectations and what they want, like efficiency and stuff. Like if you work at a, I don't know, let's say you're working as an office assistant at a at a dental office, they might expect you to do 14 emails an hour. Maybe you might have to email insurance bills out to clients and stuff and patients. Um, that may be an issue for you. It may also be an issue if you work in a grocery store or any kind of stores, or any kind of job. A vocational therapist can help you find solutions. Um, some people with Aspergers and autism spectrum are very good working in factories. I mean, sometimes if a job's repetitive, it's a good thing too. Um, Medications. I'm not going to go into medications because I don't feel comfortable talking about medications, as I'm not qualified to do that. Um, we also may experience, I mean, adults with Asperger's syndrome experience symptoms such as or awkward at social situations and interactions, difficulty talking with others. Yes, you may have online friends. It's easier to interact online than it is in person. Um, uh, if you want to try to find some friends, try to find some friends on Facebook. Usually, that's probably the best. There's Asperger support groups, autism spectrum support groups. Usually, you can find some pretty good friends using those groups. It's no guarantee. Um, if you meet a friend, don't overdo it. Don't constantly text them or call them. That will drive a friendship apart. I'm guilty of that too, so it happens. Um, you have an inability to nonverbal or an inability to interpret non-behavioral non nonverbal behaviors in others. So that's one thing that we have a hard time reading people. Like my face could tense up, and somebody else with Asperger's or autism might not be able to read that. That's just how we are. Um, it's probably easier to be diagnosed when you're young, um, but some people aren't. Um, a lot of the time, it is harder to diagnose in women. Nothing against anybody, but that's usually what I've read. Um, it, don't ask me why. It's one of those things. Like for the jobs and stuff, I just try to communicate more. Um, I think there's a lot of people we suspect that are on the autism spectrum and they don't know. Um, and to the ones that have anxiety and depression, um, let's talk about that for a bit. If you got anxiety, try deep breathing. Try just try anything. I mean, As you can see, I'm flicking my ring again, um, which is okay. I mean, if you got anxiety, try deep breathing. Using medication is not the answer unless you got severe anxiety and you're to the point where the breathing exercises and therapy isn't working. Then the doctors will prescribe a medication. Um, like I said, I'm not going to give advice on medications. I'm not qualified to talk about that. And that's one thing. Self-awareness. I mean, knowing your symptoms, knowing your what triggers your anxiety, what triggers your depression. Maybe certain people trigger depression. Maybe they're talking about politics constantly. Maybe they're talking about, I don't know. Maybe you don't like going to concerts, and people are talking constantly about concerts. Most people with Aspergers don't like being in crowds. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people do with Asperger's, some people don't. I mean, everybody with Asperger's is different. No one person is alike. I happen to be one of those people with Asperger's that likes to drink coffee. I mean, I don't recommend it for people who have high anxiety, but I mean, if you like coffee, that's fine. Um, but it is proven that caffeine can increase anxiety, high intake levels of caffeine and stuff. So you might want to keep that aware. Try to, if you are depressed, try to reach out to a friend or family member. Um, that's probably the best thing to do. Um, I don't know much about depression. I've never really been depressed, but I can tell you, I know how you feel. I know it's a struggle. If you feel depressed, you can reach out to me. Um, I'll refer you or give you a number to call. Um, uh, just contact me. Um, I'm not a doctor. That's just a disclaimer. Um, and usually, sometimes I think depression may have something to do with the light in the winter too. Maybe something called seasonal affective disorder, where your body's not getting enough vitamin D and stuff too. So um, I do take a vitamin D supplement. Not because of that. I take it for some other reasons I'm not going to disclose. Um, I mean, there's some certain methods. Um, Most psychiatrists or counselors will try to talk to you about your issues. They don't. Um, they will try to help you. Sometimes counseling works, sometimes it don't. It's one of those things where it all depends. If you got a good psychiatrist or a good counselor, it might work out. When it comes to job placement, there are many agencies for people with Asperger's and people with disabilities. Here in the States, there's something called the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, which is for people with actually anybody with disabilities. I don't really like to call Asperger's a disability, but it kind of is. Some of these agencies do provide job coaching and on job training if you are looking for a job. I'm not sure how it is, and if I have anybody in the international community watching me, how it is in your country. I was assuming Europe is pretty much like the US, but I'm not 100% sure. But there's job coaching opportunities, there's job training experience, there's quite a bit of there's quite a bit of programs out there to help somebody with Asperger's find a job and be successful at that job. And that's actually what their goal is. Does it work 100% of the time? No. Not everything works 100% of the time. But most of the time it does work. There are certain jobs that aren't a good fit for people. I mean, you may want to be a park ranger. That might be a good fit for you. You may want to be a librarian. That may be a good fit for you. All depends on what your interests and likes are. But I mean, I think for like a librarian, it requires like a 4-year college degree. I know here in the States does. I think you got to have a degree on the library science. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So you can't just have an English degree. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't have an English major degree and still be a librarian. My opinion's about all the same. Sorry about the coffee. Some things to keep aware is keep a list of what you're going to do every day. If you're going to do like cleaning today or going for a walk, you probably should have a routine. People with autism spectrum do work better when it's a routine. That's just something how it works. Do I have a routine? Yes, I have a certain routine, but I don't follow the routine all the time. I mean, you don't have to follow a routine. It's one of those things. It's pretty much up to you. I mean, you're your own individual. You can make decisions for yourself what you think's best for you. But I mean, I would recommend a routine. It's probably the best. That's just me. I mean, try to, when it comes to friends, try to reach out to people. I mean, if you want to talk, email me. I can't talk 24/7, obviously. I work part-time and stuff, and there's a lot of other things I do too in my spare time. I do nature photography as a hobby on the side. It's been kind of cold out this winter, so I haven't really done any outdoor photos and stuff, but that's something that I do enjoy. I mean, I mainly enjoy the warmer weather a little bit better. Not too warm, not too hot. I mean, I don't really like winter weather either. I mean, I used to like cross-country skiing. That was fun too. But, sometimes in life you just move on from a certain sport. I mean, and skis are expensive. I think you can get a decent pair of skis for like $300-400, maybe more. I mean, I used to do a lot of biking and stuff too. I mean, you can pay 10 grand for a racing road bike. I mean, buy yourself a nice car with 10 grand, $10,000. I mean, if you want to pay 10 grand for a car, or a bicycle, that's fine. I mean, that's your prerogative. But I think the highest I ever spent on a bike was about $600. And that was a good bike. I mean, got me to point A to point B. It had the really skinny tires, like the racing tires. That was one of my favorite pastimes in the past. It was kind of a hobby. I mean, you'd get going down those hills, 40 miles an hour. I don't know how much it is for kilometers an hour, but it's pretty high. 45, 50 miles an hour going down a hill that's blacktop is pretty fast on a bike. It feels like it's faster. It feels like you're going 100 miles an hour. And you better hope that you don't hit a rock in the road. There's been a few times I flew off a bike. It didn't happen a lot, but it happens. I mean, I flew off a bike about 21 years ago. My one thumb still locks up because of it. So maybe I had a broken thumb. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Like I said in the past, I do have rheumatoid arthritis, so I don't know how the skiing and biking would affect me. Actually, might actually help it a little bit. So exercise is a good thing to relieve anxiety. I know you all might. Everybody has a different way. As when it comes to socialization, try Facebook groups. Those usually work. There's no guarantees. I will give you a little advice. I don't give dating advice really, and I'm not going to. But I mean, if you're one of those Aspergers people that are looking for dating, try an Asperger's dating group online. That's something to keep in mind too. Like I said, there's no guarantees with any Facebook group. Whether you're looking for a friend or whatever. I mean, there's no guarantees that you'll find any friends, but there's a good chance you'll find a friend and find people to talk to. Or you can always create your own Facebook groups like me. That works too. But to keep in mind that if you do create a Facebook group, don't go overboard. It's not good. My advice is if you want to create a Facebook group, you can. But like I said, don't go overboard. Just because you created the group doesn't mean you're the ruler over it. If you want other people to like you in the group, you gotta be honest and you gotta be nice, obviously. I mean, some of us were good administrators in groups, some of us aren't. It's like that in any group. I mean, whether it's a Asperger's group or a nature group or whatever group you belong to. You may have other interests, like you might belong to a nature photography group. You always have a few in the group that like to post stuff that shouldn't be posted in the group. They may post political stuff. That actually was a big violation in our group, posting political posts. It doesn't have anything to do with autism or Asperger support. It doesn't really have any room in the group. I mean, if you want to talk about stuff like that, start a new group. I mean, I don't want to offend anybody, but an autism support group is for autism support only, not random stuff. I do run a few groups. Hold on, I'm going to be right back. Hello, I am back. This video is probably going to be in a 3-part series. But I just want to let you guys know I am. If you like my videos, hit subscribe. If you like the video, hit like below. And if you want to comment below or have any suggestions on future videos, you're more than welcome to comment below. If you have any comments or questions, please ask me. I'm usually available via email. I will provide an email link below. Comments, suggestions are always welcome. I hope everybody has a great day and a great week. Happy New Year, everyone. I forgot to say that earlier. And this is Nicholas Ellis signing off. Thank you for watching.